David Bose's central claim is that drug prohibition violates fundamental individual rights. He cites the Jeffersonian idea that all human beings have rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And perhaps, using and taking drugs would fall into those rights. Um, However, he also says that those Jeffersonian rights can be essentially boiled down to one fundamental principle. And this is the principle that says that people should be allowed to live their lives freely and in whichever way they choose, so long as they are not violating the rights and freedoms of others in the process. This principle should sound familiar to you. I think that it is essentially the principle of greatest equal liberty. We came across the principle of greatest equal liberty when we were discussing social contract theory and John Rawls in particular. And again, that principle essentially states that in society, people ought to be given as much freedom as possible equally. All citizens should be given equal freedoms as much as possible. And when we say as much as possible, we mean without violating the freedoms and rights of others in the process. You cannot violate others' rights or freedoms in the process of being given or granted a right yourself. So, for example, we are not free to murder or harm others because obviously doing so violates the freedoms and liberties of those people. Okay? But perhaps you are free to buy and use coffee and to drink coffee because that seems to in no way violate the equal freedoms and liberties of others, right? You're not ending anyone's life or cutting anyone's freedom off, anything like this. But according to David Bose, using drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, heroin, etc., falls within this principle and within your rights and freedoms. According to Bose, there cannot be a more basic or fundamental right than control over one's body and the ability, the freedom to put substances in one's own body. I mean, when you do so, when you drink coffee or take another kind of drug, you are performing an activity, you are engaging in an activity where you are not even leaving the boundaries of your own skin, Bose might say, right? I mean, drug use is an activity that involves just the user. So in that sense, all people can be granted this right to use drugs as they are granted right to control their own bodies. And so long as people do not harm others in the process or violate others' rights in the process of using drugs, they should be free to use drugs. You can think of this right as a negative right, a right to non-interference, where others ought not interfere with your body and your freedom and your pursuit of happiness in regards to using drugs. So I think this is Bose's central claim. And again, as any good philosopher should, he does consider a few common objections to this claim.